stuff.
And what's beautiful about entertainment is that you can go as conventional or unconventional as you want. You know, there's nothing that you can do that's really too far until someone says, okay, you gave a little too much, which honestly is a great thing because it means you can scale back.
Yeah. Welcome to the Brew. Today we're joined by a special guest all the way from Connecticut. We got Constantine Pappas.
Yep.
He is a seasoned performer. I'm just gonna read your bio because
Yeah, sure. That's fine with me.
Nice and long, and makes a nice little title for yourself.
Clean.
So Constantine is a seasoned performer, having entertained all over Northern America and throughout the world. He has seen performing across Europe and the Viking Cruises as a lead performer in the national tour of the Phantom of the Opera.
That is correct.
Nice and impressive. I like that.
It was fun.
I'm sure it was. And critics have claimed Pappas has great singing and always upbeat confidence and fine comic timing. So I'm very excited to have you on the show today.
I hope I'm comedic.
I'm sure you will.
I mean,
be.
Upbeat. Sorry.
You gotta have a mixture of both, but we're
Sure.
gonna be talking about a lot of topics in the entertainment space, especially more focused on theater, more your background. But to kind of get started, I'm very interested in understanding kind of what got you into what you're doing today, because obviously that's probably a huge story behind that. But I kind of want to know of what led you to the career you're at right now. That's a good way to kind of segue into it.
The beginning of it, and I think I'll break this up into three little details.
All right.
The first of which are my family. I come from a very musical family. You know, my mom and dad both sing. My mom plays the piano. My sister sing. I sing. My grandmother sings. My uncle sings. Everyone sings. All right.
All right.
And people sometimes call us the Von Pappas family singers. You know, it's fun. You know, back in Fresno, California, where we're from.
Yeah.
And so, you know, yelling in the choir at 2 years old, you know, in the church choir. Since then, kind of started fostering a love for that.
Yeah.
In fourth grade, my parents encouraged me to audition for the fourth grade school musical.
Oh man,
Mother
big
Goose Incorporated, the big time. You know, I played the Prince Charming. I was one of three men in that cast, 3 boys, and 40 women. It was great. It was great. Not enough parts to go around.
There you go.
But I would attest a lot of my influence going into this field to my uncle, still is, I mean, however you want to consider it, a Broadway performer.
Okay.
Evan Pappas, my dad's brother. He originated roles on Broadway in shows like My Favorite Year, where he was just surrounded by a cast of stars like Tim Curry, Lainey Kazan, Andrea Martin, Katie Finneran, just great people, you know, doing the premiere of on Broadway Parade, Jason Robert Brown musical. Yeah, just doing stuff like that, touring around with Chorus Line, doing productions like Company, on Golden Pond. The guy was a tour de force, and I grew up listening to his recordings, and that really encouraged me to want to pursue this field wholeheartedly and fully. Yeah.
And then kind of tying off of that, did you kind of know from the start, like, that kind of influence that you for sure wanted to be in this space, or did it take some time to, like, figure out that theater was for you?
It definitely took a little time. Okay. So before I was embracing musical theater from a young age.
Yep.
And then I married that with my love of opera. So when I was a freshman in high school, was the first time I really discovered I could sing opera. You know, I took a voice lesson with this wonderful woman. Well, I'm gonna break something here.
No, you're good.
With this wonderful voice teacher, Edna Garabedian. She was a mentor, a coach, still is. And I would balance the two between opera and musical theater. Definitely more so opera because, you know, when you're a freshman in high school, no one says, I'm going to be an opera singer. Yeah. You're just like, you know, it's like, oh, I have a big voice and a small body, which is really like a party trick, you know.
There you
can just pull it out whenever you want. And so with that, I almost forgot what the question was. How did that translate? Did I always know I wanted to do theater?
Yeah, like you wanted to always be in theater.
So that's actually a really funny story because I went to college for opera.
Yeah.
And then through a series of unfortunate auditions for opera programs, I thought, you know what? this is probably not the business for me. It even got so far as auditioning for this one program, and they gave me the speaking role in this opera. And I thought, okay, that's it. I'm not meant to have it, because I try to keep a straight, head on my body of
course.
Just considering that this is not a field for everyone. So I thought maybe this is not the field for me. And I went back to another love of mine, which was debate, speech and debate, which is something I fostered in high school, which I don't have to get into, forensics, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And I went back to studying for law.
Okay.
Something I thought about pursuing. And I was studying for my law SATs when my uncle called me, Evan.
Yeah.
And he said, "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" And I said, "I'm going to go to law school." And he said, "Why don't you come out to New York and give it a shot?" And I said, "Why? Why would I do that?" And oh wow, I almost forgot how the story ends. I'm combining it with another story I had with him. And he said, "Because you're not guaranteed a job either way."
Oh.
And I thought, okay, honest.
That's a really blunt.
It's real blunt.
Feedback,
I was like, okay, cool. Between being a lawyer and being an actor, I guess it's better for me to be an actor, considering. So May 2015, I moved out to New York, and I never looked back.
Wow.
I just kept doing it.
That's a big jump. Like that's obviously the one thing that any kind of entertainer, artist, they kind of have to take that big leap of faith and kind of believe in their own talents and all that kind of stuff. But what was your kind of mindset? Like, I'm going to New York and I'm leaving everything else behind. What were you worried? Were you scared? Kind of were you like, I have no idea what's going to happen?
So yeah, a little bit of I thought I knew what was going to happen. And I was thankful for the cushions I did have. I saved up some money, tried to put something in the bank. My uncle let me stay with him. And I just thought I'd try to pursue what I could. I knew that once I got there, I needed to get headshots. I knew I needed to fix up my resume and put together the audition book or audition Bible.
Yeah.
People call it both ways. It's just a collection of audition cuts or songs that you would do for an audition, or monologues, and et cetera, et cetera. And I knew that. I also knew I needed to get a regular job, anywhere, waiter, bartending, I don't know, temp working for a t-shirt manufacturer. True story. Literally whatever you could get your hands on.
Yeah.
And about a month in of me just trying this grind, I really thought I didn't have it together. And in front of my uncle, I burst into tears.
Damn.
And I just had this breakdown. I go, I can't do it. I don't think this is right for me at all. Again, thinking about that whole thing.
Yeah.
And then he sat me down, poured me a drink. He has this vodka in the fridge, pours it over ice.
There we go.
Sit down. And he goes, "All right, let's talk. How many auditions have you done?" I went, 6. Yeah. "How many callbacks did you get?" 5.
What?
And he went,
"Oh man, I would have given
my
you the same
nephew,
look."
that is sick. No one comes to New York and gets a callback
Yeah.
in their first month." And I thought, okay, I'm really looking at this the wrong way, because I thought to make it happen, I needed to get it and not recognize the work that had already been put into it.
Yeah.
Which then he gave me some other nice pieces of advice, which was, you do 19 auditions to book the 20th gig. And, if you feel like you're a big fish in a small pond, just know there are sharks elsewhere.
Yeah.
And swim with them and see if you can compete. So, and of course, as the story goes, you have to hit rock bottom for anything to happen.
Of course, yeah.
The next morning, I get an email to work on Viking Ocean Cruises for what ended up becoming a total of 14 months.
Damn.
All over Europe.
How was being on a Viking cruise? Because I actually do know some people that do various stuff on cruises, and it's cool because your income is, don't you save all your income, right?
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to pay any of the taxes.
I called it paid vacation.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Because you're just chilling on the cruise.
I'm chilling on a cruise ship. You drink when you want. Okay. I'm prefacing this to every camera. I know you can't see him over there. But you can drink not on the clock.
Whatever you want.
Whatever you want. So.
Oh yeah, this is coffee and tea, by the way.
Coffee and tea.
This is no.
Can you tell I have to sing and stuff? And coming from rehearsals and, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
You get to see the world. And what was unique about Viking Ocean Cruises was at this point they had just launched one ship. So the first of their ocean line, the Viking Star. It's been a few years.
Yeah.
The Viking Star.
Yeah.
And I was the second cast to go aboard. We were a cast of 8, and we did shows that were unique to that ship. We had a spy musical, an ABBA review. Okay, maybe not the most original thing, Mamma Mia, but still an ABBA review.
Yeah.
What was the other one? Oh, a rock opera, which was rock music and opera music.
Yeah.
And somehow combining the two of them. Going from singing the infamous Nessun Dorma, one of Luciano Pavarotti's greatest hits, and then having to turn on a dime and sing Bohemian Rhapsody. I'll show you a recording later.
I'm sure that's fun though.
It was definitely something. In the middle of that, we were singing Seasons of Love.
Well, as long as you had a limited booze, kind of made it roll, huh?
That's right.
There we go.
Just a little bit. So, yeah, being on a cruise ship is fun. And then the additional bonus was I called it paid vacation because we were in Europe. And every day we were in a different city and country.
Yeah.
Even. So, first day you're in Venice, then we move over to Napoli, then we move over to going down the line all the way to Athens, all the way to Istanbul, and then traveling back to Barcelona, going to Croatia where we went to Dubrovnik where they filmed Game of Thrones, super cool, you know, and you got to do that. And let me just tell you, you should take advantage of all the opportunities you have when you go overseas, because there were days where I would wake up on the ship and someone would ask, "Hey, do you want to go into Rome today?" And I go, just gonna hang out. What?
That's the biggest mistake of your life if you do that.
This is the biggest mistake of my life. And I got cocky because it was like, been to Rome 8 times at that point, Anywho. I won't bore you with too much about the cruise ship.
No, but that's an interesting kind of take to understand, because in order for you to get the opportunities that you've had, and Ethan, you don't have to crawl like a little monkey on the floor. You go around.
You're gonna get in the interview? Hi. You have to at least you have to talk at least this close to it. You see what? Great. I love you.
All right.
Thank you, Ethan Castro, everybody. One of my best friends. Love him to death.
We'll go to wedding stories later.
We'll go to wedding stories later. Oh man, we're gonna go to wedding stories later. Sorry.
Yeah.
Apparently, am I still on New York time? I don't remember.
But I think the understanding of cruise ships and working on a cruise ship and all these kind of opportunities, this is important for a lot of young people trying to make it in the space, right? You have to be able to take those risks and be uncomfortable and just be I'm gonna go on a cruise. I'm just gonna kick it on a Viking cruise for the next 14 months. And be okay with that, because I feel there's a lot of artists that still kind of try to restrict themselves. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. But that limits how they can even grow.
Correct. So, really, I mean, a great piece of advice then is really be open to trying new things. You can have your limitations, certain contractual things, saying I will not perform nudity on a film set, or I don't feel comfortable doing these kinds of things, and really having someone to have to talk it through, guidelines or whatnot. And so there can be limitations, but in terms of the performance and what you're actually going for, absolutely try it. I wanted to do a cruise ship, one, because I thought it was fun, and I had befriended some people at the time who were like, "Hey, let's all go together and try to make this work." And 3 out of the 4 guys that we all went together to this audition were all in the final callback. Oh,
wow.
So we were all gearing, hyping each other on. It was great.
Wow. That's a super cool experience. And going back into kind of not only is it a good experience for you to be able to articulate your talents and all that kind of stuff, but you also got more of an international feel, understanding kind of what global environments want. And did that make your understanding of how you entertain others, did it make it better?
Yeah, so absolutely. That was especially true during my second contract when I was launching a brand new ship, their second ocean liner, the Viking Sea.
Yeah.
Where when we got to our initial port, in Istanbul,
Yeah.
the United States released a warning saying, Americans living in Istanbul, you need to evacuate.
Whoa.
And we were there for 3 days.
Yeah.
So having to just be a, I can't say beacon of hope, but really trying to be a stronghold for all the passengers who were worried.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't singing, you still had to have a certain sense of decorum.
Of course, yeah.
And control and assistance and warmth. I guess to really combine everything, you're really a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
When you're working on a ship. And so when we left, the day after we left Istanbul, there was a bombing in the heart of the city.
Wow.
And so that contract really kind of set a number of events in motion where there was just certain ways we had to learn that the passengers were feeling a certain way.
Yeah.
And so our entertainment really alleviated those pressures. We had a cruise going, I forget where we were. It was a predominantly British, it was mostly British passengers.
Yeah.
And Brexit just happened.
Oh.
There were 6 brawls that happened on the ship while we were sailing because no one was agreeing on this or that.
Yeah.
And to really take a moment to have the music and our shows just took everyone out of that reality, even if it was just for like 5 minutes.
Yep.
It was enough for them to just cool it and calm down. There were multiple events like this, It was why we had to stop going to Paris because that's where another Paris, I think it was the Paris bombing happened. We ended up closing down our port city, I think it was Toulon, France, because of that event. And so what are you going to do in the meantime? Turn to the entertainment. Yeah. And so that was that.
Yeah, I think that's also really, really important that you're bringing up because I think entertainment in general kind of gets overlooked because they look at it as in like, why do we all need actors and music and all these kinds of things? Because the reality of the world is, one, it's escapism for some people, but
Correct.
then on other sides of it, it's therapeutical. It has a lot of other like things that are not necessarily tangible. So in certain countries, like for example, Russia, China, more oppressed areas, they try to shut down on creativity, but you can actually see how that impacts the mindset of the people inside of a country or
Correct.
everything like that. So I guess the one thing I'm very interested in hearing from you is, do you have any stories of like specifically somebody coming to you or talking to you after a show or anything like that, that they kind of illuminated what you provided for them?
Okay. I'm going to try not to cry with this one.
All right.
Because I've told this story, I think, only a couple times before, and it hits me, I think, the same way. So if it doesn't hit me this way, it's not because I got over it. It's just, no, I'm just talking on camera. So I don't even remember what year it was, but there was a talent competition in a town I think it was 25 minutes away from Fresno.
Yeah.
And 25 minutes south. Was it in Visalia? I don't remember. I really have no idea where I was.
Yeah.
And I ended up auditioning, and they said, wow, you were great. We enjoyed it. It was fun. You're going to the final event, top 10, whatever you want to call it. And the day of that performance, of that talent show, I went on stage and I asked, hey, do I need to use a mic? What do we think? Because I just had it was just me and a backing track. Yeah. And the guy said, you don't need a mic. I think you sound fine without it. Great. So I ditched the mic. And during the show, I get up, I'm waiting to go on, and the guy that's announcing me says, all right, and please welcome the man who don't need no stinking mic. Here's Constantine Pappas. And I thought, need no stinking mic? That's weird. Words in my mouth, whatever. So I go on stage, and of course the music's just a little too loud, not how we rehearsed it. And I'm over singing and trying to be louder than the track, and I'm starting to crack and fumble all over the place. And the judges ripped me for, hey, first of all, you should be a little kinder than saying you don't need no stinking mic. And I thought, what?
Yeah.
I was devastated after that. And as soon as I got in the car, I was bawling in front of my parents because I was just like, I had sung The Impossible Dream from Man of La Mancha. And I was like, God. And of course, in my kid mind, oh, my dreams are crushed, like whatever. Later that night, I get a Facebook message from this random gal. And I wish I had it so I could read it straight out. But my phone is not in my pocket, so it's not good. And this woman said, hey, I know you didn't win, but I wanted to tell you something. Your performance tonight really helped me. 6 months ago, I lost my son to cancer. And today was an especially hard day thinking about him. And hearing you sing The Impossible Dream really helped me.
Damn.
And I just want to thank you for that. And that's when I knew it wasn't that my singing was not for that competition. It was for that one woman.
That person, yeah.
And how pivotal that moment was. So to that woman, thank you. It really gave me a beautiful perspective on why I sing.
Wow. So, yeah, see, that right there, that's the power of it. That's really the power of why people get entertainment, what they put out, because a lot of times an entertainer gets caught up in what they're doing, right? You get caught up in, I wasn't that good, I wasn't doing that, I want to protect, blah, blah, blah.
All the time.
But at the end of the day, what really does matter is the audience. What matters is how are they perceiving it? Is there emotional connection? Are they getting the value out of it? Which is really the power of entertainment, because at the end of the day, it's the audience that really matters.
Yes.
So.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's why people brag about box office totals for movies. It's how well did it do? How much was it well received? You could have a hit and a sea of other hits, so that hit wasn't. It's timing. It's whatever you want. So many factors, but you're absolutely correct on that.
Wow. Yeah, that's a wonderful story, and
thank you.
I'm sure there's more cases that you just don't know of because they haven't reached out to you and all that kind of stuff.
It's very possible.
Yeah. That are out there, but kind of shifting gears from the emotional side. I want to hear.
Yes.
I want to hear.
We'll package that for a moment.
Well, I don't know how emotional this would be to you, but I want to hear kind of like a funny kind of failure story, because that's the most common thing in the entertainment world is failures, and I really want to kind of hear like a good failure story from you, and then kind of how did you react to it, bounce back, or what did you do after it?
Oh, a good failure story. I mean, I will say that was a pretty good one. Oh man, what was a great failure story? Why am I... Now I'm blanking. I'm perfect and the most humble man I know. No, oh, gosh. Most certainly, a time where I really failed was... I would go back to the story I mentioned earlier, not this one, but the one before that, where I almost dropped music entirely because I thought I wasn't good enough. Yeah. I think... Because the failure there is not believing in yourself. Yeah. And how necessary that is. And so now that I've kind of developed a better sense of that, it's easier to go forward. Yeah. So, once you realize that when you go into an audition, you're not paying for that audition, but everyone else in the room is paying for the time to use the studio, paying the accompanist, and whatnot, all these other factors that they're thinking of. You need to give them a moment to, one, chillax, and two, perform. Yeah. I've never looked, and once you look at that, you'll never audition again. You'll never audition a day in your life. You'll just have fun. Yeah. So.
Okay, I think that's really good advice for a lot of young people trying to get into this space, right? Especially like early on in stages, because they're going to be very, very. Your biggest critic is always yourself. So.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm sure it still is to a lot of like essential pieces, but at least your perspective is bigger.
Right, and for those kids that want to do this field, don't. Okay, so there's some credence to that. So wait, here's what I'll say about that. I say don't because if you're not willing to give 105% and understand the challenges and the risks that go into it, you're going to be trashed. Yeah. So I know I need to be this close to the mic. I'm so sorry. You're just going to be swamped, and you're not going to want to do this field ever again.
Yeah.
You know, you're just going to think, why do I suck? Why am I so awful? Look at all these other better people. And yes, from time to time, I still compare myself to friends of mine and go, what am I doing wrong? And the answer is probably nothing.
Yeah.
That's just it.
Have you ever read the book, Learn Not to Give a Fuck?
I have not.
You should definitely, I mean, you're already practicing those principles, but like that book in general, I would say any entertainer out there, you need to read this book. Any anybody who's trying to get into entrepreneurship, especially.
I'm behind.
No, the reason why it's so important is because it teaches the perspective of comparison, and it teaches people how bad that is, especially if you want to do something that is not a traditional pathway. So
correct.
Entertainers, entrepreneurs, honestly, entertainers are entrepreneurs, but like anybody that's getting away from the norm, if you start comparing yourself to other people, it is going to destroy you so fast.
There's only one of you.
Exactly.
Only one of you.
And the path you take is not going to be the path somebody else takes. Even if you guys are in the same space, what you want to do in theater and all this is going to be completely different from somebody else who is in theater trying to make it whatever their objectives or goals and all that kind of stuff are.
And what's beautiful about entertainment is that you can go as conventional or unconventional as you want. You know, there really needs, be creative. You know, that's why we're in this space. That's why we're being, artsy and everything is just for that sense of creativity and really expanding on it. There's nothing that you can do that's really too far until someone says, okay, you gave a little too much, which honestly is a great thing because it means you can scale back. Yeah,
easily. So kind of also tying it into, as you progress as an entertainer, as a performer, all this kind of stuff, do you have kind of like a way that you are building up your confidence, kind of like the stepping stone system? So before you go out in front of stages, because I'm sure the first time you performed, you didn't just perform in front of like thousands of people, but now you feel confident doing it. So how did you kind of build that up time after time?
So, that's funny because I still get nervous before singing. Absolutely all the time. And I guess what I'll say to that is you just do it. You really just do it and throw yourself into it and say, no one's going to be a good public speaker running the speech in your mirror.
It's true.
No one, even talking to your dog, it's nice. But honestly, I mean, if you want to have fun, get a group of friends together and just say, I'm going to sing for you now. Go out to karaoke and assume everyone cares, stuff like that. And then really remember, depending on the medium that you're using, why you're doing it. And really why you're doing it. Not really for who. Yeah. You can think about that like, I'm doing this for my mom. I'm doing this for
But
my
that's
grandmother.
Still the why. That's still, at the end of the day, it's going to still become your why.
There's still the why.
Yeah.
Which could be your why. But the reason why someone, I think, would do it is to tell a story.
Yep.
And that's really where I fall.
All right. Well, that perfectly kind of leads into my next question. What is your story? What are you trying to do?
Oh, what am I trying to do?
Yeah. What is your kind of end goal? What are you trying to do in the theater world?
I'm going to answer that with a quote.
All right.
It's one of my favorite quotes, and I love to live by it. And it's this actor, really all-around guru, jack of all trades, honestly. His name's Danny Kaye.
Okay.
And he said, life is a great big canvas, and you should throw all the paint on it you can.
Yep.
And when I think about the stuff he did, he wasn't just an actor. He was singing. He was dancing. He would improv like no other. He also was a great chef. He also conducted the New York, I think it was the New York Philharmonic, just randomly stepping in for Zubin Mehta for a whole evening with Danny Kaye. You can find it on YouTube. The guy really was a jack of all trades, but then progressed into master of a lot of it. Yeah. And so I'm really, I'll even say, attracted to aspiring to do that. And trying to find a bunch of fields where, how can I improve in these various fields that I'm very interested in, and then grow with them so much that people go, that's not bad. That's actually really good. Yeah. And so, which is why I do things like I edit videos. I run some social media platforms. I also like to, work with my hands. And just for my birthday, which was like last week on February 24th, I built an escape room for my friends in my basement.
Oh yeah, I did see that on your story.
You did see this.
Your girlfriend.
And I had a whole.
Your girlfriend didn't approve. Your girlfriend didn't approve.
Oh, she loved it. She loved it because I had her run it the first time with a group of people. So she didn't get to do it the second time. With the rest of the friends at the party because she was one of my guinea pigs.
Yeah.
But that kind of thing where I really get to like try different things. Really explore game theory. Work. You get it.
Yeah.
Really try put my hands in a bunch of different pies and still be able to eat them. You know?
Of course.
Because they're my pies. That's not an analogy. I have my ducks in a basket and my eggs in a row. So
makes sense. Perfect logical sense.
I gotta tell you a story. We had an idiom test when I was in, I think it was first or second grade.
An idiom test?
Idiom test. We had to talk about idioms, it's the nature of the beast, blah, blah, blah. I missed one, and it's all Greek to me. I thought it meant it was easy. I'm not going to lie. It was understood. And I said, but it's Greek. I know Greek. Apparently that didn't go very well.
It didn't roll over. Man. Well, going into being the jack of all trades and balancing out certain things, I think the one important aspect to that, it is important to kind of dabble around and touch and be uncomfortable and try new things and all that creativity, but it's also really important to be very good at certain things and then grow into the other spaces, because if you're trying to be average at everything, you're good at nothing.
I can't agree. I agree so much with that. So my first love is singing. And I hope I'm okay at it. I hope I sing. Do I sing good? I hope.
We'll find out tomorrow.
We'll find out tomorrow. God. We'll find out tomorrow. Tell no one. It's a close concert, I think. Tomorrow in Riverside, California at 6:30 p.m. Be there. I really don't actually know where it is. It's Saturday.
Saturday?
It's Saturday.
But tomorrow also at Ears, so yeah.
Tomorrow at Ears, that's right.
There we go.
It's a place here. Don't worry about it. My New York friends.
Oh, man. But, yeah, so you kind of focus down on what you're good at, right? And then from there you were, okay, I'm good at this. This becomes natural to me, right? And then that is what opened up time for you to now focus on other aspects. Is that kind of the approach you're taking?
Yes.
Okay.
So and I think what's interesting about theater is actors tend to categorize themselves. So after Constantine Pappas, they will say a list, which is really in order. So I would say Constantine Pappas, singer, actor, mover. I do tap dance, but I'm not doing something like a chorus line where I'm doing high kicks or things. So I just say I'm a very strong mover with some tendencies to dance, which is too long. I say mover.
Wait, hold on. It really says mover.
I'm not on my resume, but like when people ask like what are your strengths kind of a thing, I go, I'm a singer, actor, mover.
How does that get perceived?
Huh?
How does that get perceived?
Just like that. Usually in laughs.
It's a point of conversation though. So
it's a point of conversation, singer, actor, or sometimes you'll just see actor, dancer, singer.
Yeah.
And it really shows kind of where your first strength is, and like the things that you're really growing along the way. So, emphasis on singing. Yeah. I also act, which allows me to dabble in something like film acting. In musicals, I do have to act, so it becomes a very necessary component to marry with my singing. And then, and depending on the show, there is some moving or some dancing, depending on what it is, In Phantom of the Opera, I would say I was a mover, but during the Masquerade number, at least on the national tour, this is not on the Broadway production, not in the Broadway production. We dance it. We dance the whole Masquerade. We're not just Masquerade going downstairs as they do on Broadway. We are full on going, Yeah. And just depends.
Wow. That's an interesting concept that you brought up
Yeah, we have to be good in a lot of things.
Of course you have to be, because in theater, like we were talking off camera, it's just theater encompasses all of it. Like there's no if you're weak in one area, theater might not even be for you because of that fact.
Correct. Because you can get better at it due to repetitiveness.
Yeah.
I mean, we do a lot of shows. A lot. During Phantom we did 8 shows a week.
Whoa.
8 shows a week.
How long is each show?
Each show, 2.5 hours.
And
let me think about that. Hour 15, hour. Yeah, 2.5 hours.
And then you have to also obviously rehearse.
Yeah.
Practice.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Are you exhausted after those 8 days?
Yeah, in general.
do you take like a little?
Yeah,
like,
so there are a few days off in between, transporting from one city to the next. We'll do a 2-week sit down, so 16 performances, and then we'll travel for 3-4 days and then do it again.
Whoa.
Brand new city. While I was there, I did 602 performances.
602?
You were correct. And so this is where, to kind of go with what you were saying, where theater really is like
everything.
A primo, let's say sport at this point. I mean, you could watch sports science talking about people in Lion King or Aladdin and whatnot, and like how much they do in that show. And 602 performances, each one being a show that you have to do as if someone is seeing it for the very first time, because they are. Yeah. So don't slack it and repeat that performance every night. Don't be a robot, obviously.
Yeah, of course,
but you have to do that. And the beauty is, oftentimes if you do flub, it's okay. It's live theater and understood. When we look at something like the live action musicals, I kind of shrug, to be honest. I see Rent Live, Grease Live, Little Mermaid Live, and I'm like, cool. Yeah. But can you do it 8 shows a week? No. I don't know. Probably. I could believe Vanessa Ann Hudgens to do it, because she did it. She did it in a show. I think it was Gigi when she was doing that. She did that on Broadway for a while. Yeah. 8 shows a week. And you got to be a really strong performer. And we don't get do-overs other than the next day. Yeah, of course. But the audience has to see the flubs or the mistakes, if there are any. Yeah. And not just have to watch a perfect film in a theater where it's the same, guaranteed same every time, as opposed to a show where sometimes another actor has to go on or whatnot. So yeah.
Do you guys have any?
Cool.
Do you guys have any conditioning training or anything?
Yeah.
Conditioning. Do you have weightlifting?
Oh, okay. So
like that kind of world.
Okay. So I see where you're going. So yeah, for like my voice, I warm up. Just try to stay healthy, drink things like tea, water, not talk, stuff like that. Some other people, they condition by actually going to the gym and working out, running for a hot second. Others don't do that, and they just kind of rest. Yeah. The conditioning is different for everyone.
Okay, no, that's fair. I was kind of just interested in if, obviously, because it's very, very demanding on the physical standpoint as well. If you guys had any like mandatory training sessions or anything, but I'm sure the rehearsals.
I will encourage, even though I really don't do this for myself, and should work out. Yeah. It will benefit you in the long run, especially when you get to a show that is physically demanding, because if you're not warmed up, you get injured. I definitely got injured 3 times during Phantom and was out for like 7 weeks. It was great. Wow. Yeah. That sounds. I tore my MCL on my knee. I tore my MCL. I was out of the show for 5 weeks. Yeah.
That's rough times because that's.
Oh yeah. Ethan over here is giving me like a, what are you talking about? You didn't know that? Yeah, I didn't talk about it. So
this is the knee surgery conversation, because I've had 2 knee surgeries. So.
Have you really?
Yeah.
It's awful, because I sat in bed and my girlfriend really wanted me to watch True Blood, and I finished the whole series in 1 week, because there was literally nothing for me to do.
Yeah, you can't move around.
I can't move. You can't do anything. I can't do anything. So yeah, I missed out of all Fort Lauderdale. I missed out of most of whatever the next city was, and then the next city. Where were we? Nashville? I finally went in at the end of the week. Wow. After getting an MRI. Which then they told me, oh, by the way, you just need to take 2 more weeks. It's sprained. And I went, it's sprained? I've had this injury for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
It was torn. So, yay.
Oh man, that's rough times. But that's important to understand. Like, you can still get injured. That impacts your career. Impacts your money. That impacts a lot of things. So that's why it's very important to stay in shape and all that.
Stay in shape and also be adventurous. Like I said, the jack of all trades. If this voice was to go tomorrow, I'm gonna move over to hardcore video editing, or I'll become an esports not commentator, because I guess I wouldn't have a voice at that point.
You'll be the
That's
expressionist.
A moot point.
You'll be the expressionist.
No joke. Get it? Moot point. If you say mute.
Just.
Thank you. I was waiting for a boo crowd, because if you guys applaud, I'd say, "What are you doing? Stop it."
Cheesiest line ever. I love it.
Jesus.
But tying in, we've been talking obviously a lot about the industry and all that kind of stuff. But the one thing I really am curious about, especially since you're in it, it's a very traditional industry. So is it shifting because of technology, or is it still lagging way behind? Like, for example, I know you do some social media management.
Sure.
Do a lot of shows and stuff like that. Are they struggling with like even running social media platforms? Are they struggling? Do they even? I honestly seen some very good Broadway shows that have terrible websites, and it's very embarrassing because that nowadays that's their brand. That's the digital footprint they have.
Yeah. It really depends. When it was a show like Mean Girls, they were on top of it.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
Because it was just crazy. Once you get to a show like Dangerous Liaisons, I'm gonna be honest, I still don't know what that show is about. I didn't go see it. But I guarantee there was no social media marketing, because that was not the target demographic that they were going for. So it almost would have been, I don't want to say a waste, because I think it would have helped to get it to a larger audience.
Yeah.
But I don't think it wouldn't be the thing that would make or break that show.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, does it help to have social media platforms with these shows? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hamilton would probably get even more followers than they would now.
Yeah.
If they just kept expanding their social media platform on that end. But something like Phantom of the Opera really doesn't have to try that hard.
No, everybody knows it.
That's just it.
Yeah.
It's a classic. So it's like, why do anything? Maybe the occasional post once a week, and everyone's like satisfied. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the one thing though that leaves Broadway and Hollywood and all these areas very vulnerable though, because of that perception of we're good on word of mouth. But what if that word of mouth in the next generation disappears and younger generations don't care anymore, and they're on TikTok and you're not on TikTok? You just missed out on the longevity of your platform. Like, right now it might be good, but in 10 years you might have just lost your show.
Right. So there's actually there's a theater in Connecticut that I run social media for.
Yeah.
And that was definitely something I had to talk about. Was we need to reinvigorate this Instagram account, because you're pushing a Facebook account and a Twitter account that are getting 1 to 2 likes a post.
Yeah.
And, Twitter's sitting at like maybe 400 people, and you can't get one person to like anything.
Yeah.
And your Facebook is sitting at 4,000 people, and you can't get not even 0.001% to like
audience,
it.
Yeah.
That's horrendous.
Yeah.
And, no disrespect, but, there definitely had to be a change to that, whether it be the stuff they were putting out, the content that was being created, and having to really emphasize that. Let's do this on Instagram, because in 20 years, where's the audience that you have now and you cater to going to be?
Yeah.
Great, you have the John Denver show. I know who the Denver Broncos are. I don't know who John Denver is. I may have heard him once or twice.
Yeah.
But so these kids who don't know who some of these people are,
yeah,
it's not going to matter.
It won't.
If they keep pushing that. And so, yeah, you definitely have to market to that younger group if they're going to like it, and just really impress upon them how necessary it is that mediums like that exist.
Yeah.
So.
And actually, to point out that, like, obviously right now we're talking about the industry as a whole, but going back to the personal level, as an entertainer, you need to have social media accounts, and you need to utilize them, and you need to build your personal brand, because not only does it help people know who you are and your performances and all these kinds of things, but it actually helps you get more gigs and also helps you diversify what you do. Because, for example, we're talking about jack of all trades and all this kind of stuff. You can say that you do a lot of stuff, but if people don't see it, perceive it, know what you're doing, have credibility, proof, you can't really do it.
Yeah.
You get put in a box and that's it.
Absolutely. Something I encourage, especially with those that really want to go into this field, is whenever you have a chance, someone needs to record whatever you're doing.
Yep.
And someone needs to be there with a camera. I don't care if it's an iPhone, because iPhone cameras are honestly
nowadays,
getting
they're
way
really,
better.
Really, really good.
And
Any phone camera nowadays is
any phone camera
solid.
You know, they're 100 times zoom. I just saw that on a commercial, and I thought, why? Like, what is that all about? So yeah, again, to the camera, to you young performers that are watching today's podcast, and I hope you are, get a camera and start recording yourself.
Yep.
And just put it out there to the universe. I'm learning that too late, but I'm glad that I know it now, so I can tell people now,
just get started.
Start doing it and get started.
Yeah.
Because it's so necessary. There are a number of jobs I can't submit for because I have a lack of a following. You know, there was a commercial that wanted me to have 10,000 Instagram subscribers.
Yeah.
Followers, I'm sorry. And what? I'm like, okay, I need that. And you start to need something like that.
Yeah.
With something like submitting for an actual project, they'll ask, do you have a reel? And just a compilation of different things you've done. And if you don't, well, don't submit, because they're not going to look at you, because they just want to see what you're able to do. And even if it's okay quality, that's okay, because they can obviously look and see what you do rather than the quality of the content.
Yeah.
Obviously, don't make it trashy, but if you try to put some effort into it, I promise and guarantee you're going to be on a much better footing later on. So I can't tell you how many auditions I have had to decline submitting for because I simply didn't have the necessary materials, which are necessary and pivotal now. Yeah. So,
and actually, to tie off that, nice little plug for any entertainer out there. Use LinkedIn. The reason why I'm saying use LinkedIn is because it is the most underutilized platform by entertainers. Everybody on there is a business professional talking about corporate America, which is great, but you can actually stand out like a gem on LinkedIn by providing tips to an audience that doesn't currently are using it, so you can actually be the thought leader in that space. Instead of you following the trends, you can create the trends.
I know, absolutely agree. It's so funny. I have a LinkedIn and have done zilch with it. I had it at one point, and I have one review on it, and it's that guy over there. I thank you. It's a glowing review. I'm sure there might be more, and I'm sorry for anyone else that has reviewed it, and I'm not talking about you. I'm an evil person. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
No, but it's super important because LinkedIn's nowadays the place where your personal brand's really created. Like your other platforms, you can showcase what you're doing, all this kind of stuff. That's but your real brand nowadays, LinkedIn's the place for it.
Oh yeah.
And you can stand out, especially if you want to be the jack of all trades and get all these gigs and get sponsorship deals and advertisement deals and all this kind of stuff. You being that guy on LinkedIn, you can be that guy.
Absolutely.
Be the Gary Vee of entertainment, like we talked.
Oh yeah.
All right. So the way that we like to really close out the show.
Oh God.
And don't worry, it's nothing. It's nothing bad. It's a positive thing. And you've been providing a lot of tips, but we want to always provide really good advice to our audience listening.
Amazing.
And because obviously the whole point of this is to really showcase what this world's really like in different aspects. But out of all your experience, everything that you've done, do you have any advice you would like to give to young entertainers, young entrepreneurs, or anybody that's trying to get in any of the pathways that you have succeeded in?
All right.
Go on dad mode. Like you gotta have the coffee cup and
son, daughter, and everyone else. Can't say that. You, dog. You know? Sorry, was that too loud? I hope I didn't. I just broke your audio. You have to get a new mic. Advice. First piece of advice. I had a teacher back in college, opera professor, who tried to rap and tell us new. Oh man, I already forgot the name. What the heck do you call it?
Call what?
Oh, like things like LOL.
Oh. No, LOL acronyms.
Acronyms.
Yeah.
Oh, I had it right. I almost said like anagrams. That's what I was gonna say. Oh, I was a few syllables off, and letters, and so an acronym LIU. Look it up. If you don't know how to do it, get on a Google search engine and just start typing.
Yep.
I can't tell you how many friends have been like, I don't know how to find these opportunities. One in particular said, I would love to audition for the Old Globe and do Shakespearean acting. And I thought, that'd be really cool. He's like, I just don't know where to start. I said, did you type in auditions for Old Globe Theater? Nope. And I typed it in, and he went, I feel like I've wasted the last 2 years of my life. Because he simply just didn't look it up. And so I'm like, LIU, look it up. Spread it to your friends. It's really useful. The second one is be confident.
Yeah.
And just be positive. You don't have to be like happy-go-lucky all the time. There's going to be sad moments. But really just know that there are going to be moments where it's going to be really hard. And you're going to feel like nobody wants you, nobody cares for you, and nobody wants to cast you in their project or their theater or their production. That's not the case. It just meant that at this point, you were not the right fit.
Yeah.
It's not just about you. There's a whole lot of other stuff going into it. You know, doing Phantom of the Opera, they ended up, as the Phantom got taller, and with me not being tall, to be honest, our Phantom started out at 6'5", and then went up to 6'8". And when we rehearsed with this guy, the Phantom of the Opera, I ended up doing like this Mario Yahoo, trying to punch him in this fight scene because he's huge, you know? And so when it came time for the next guy to replace me when I left the tour, he was 6'4". Of course he was 6'4". Someone has to actually punch the guy.
Yeah.
So know that if you don't get something, it's not your fault. There's more factors to go into it. And if something starts at one point, it can absolutely modulate into something else. The third thing is you can never stop learning. There's so much to learn. There's so much to grasp. And there's so many things you can do to help yourself out. Yeah. Even if you're not doing a show right now or a gig, that doesn't mean you can't, go on YouTube and start watching videos as to how to make some extra side cash, how to make your own videos, or go online to find artist communities or havens where you can grow together. That's why we're really all here. We're trying to foster a huge sense of entertainment and creativity for the masses and for the future, and really have a stronghold in this world that says, guys, this is great. Yeah. And we're gonna have fun doing it. It's not all bad. Yeah. So those are really my, aside from the other pieces of advice I think I've kind of spewed out during
here
this,
and there,
here's really the main ones. Be confident and be open, as open as you can, to really receiving criticism and comments, and learn how to grow from it.
Yeah. No, I think that's honestly fantastic advice, and especially look it up. I feel like that one by far.
LIU.
People don't take advantage of that, and I hear that quite often. People are like, I wish I could do this. I wish I knew about that opportunity.
You can. I built an escape room, guys. I'm supposed to be the guy singing and tap dancing in the corner, and I built something with my two hands. You can never stop learning.
Well, we'll end it on that note, because that was that perfect fine-tuned ending to this podcast. But
what an ending! I built an escape room.
Constantine, it's been an absolute pleasure.
I took over the world.
Thank you for being on the Brew. This was honestly a great conversation.
Are you kidding? This was amazing. Let's do it again.
Oh no, I won 100%. We'll have you again, but we need more stories, more failure stories. So
more failure stories. That's going to be a whole. I'm going to write these down because I am not perfect. Nobody is. Let's be real.
But to end it with that, with Ethan's dissatisfaction. Thank you for being on the Brew.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's it. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.